on the 2002 Mitsubishi Eclipse. It's because I have a problem with a leak, and then plus I have a problem with the radiator, like it's always rusty. I always have a problem with the rust, and then I always have boiling over in this even though I replaced the thermostat. So it's suggesting to me that it's clogged up. For this car, these are the tools you're going to need to do the radiator. You need a 10mm and a 12mm ratchet, and a wrench if you want. And then you need both screwdrivers. You need to remove these, and then these, and then you got to remove the hose, of course, and this, of course, these two. And then of course you need to remove all the bolts that the fans. I'll show you how I do it. Once you get these plastic screws off, it should pry off easily. It should come off no problem. And then just get it out of the way. Or just better, yeah, remove it. It comes off without any fight. But before you work on the car, though, you gotta make sure it's off. I mean, you gotta make sure that it's cool. And then before you actually work on the car, remove this nut right here to drain the fluid or the radiator, the coolant. This, you gotta remove this out the bottom there to drain out the water. And then I could start taking everything off. Removed everything. I'll get these things off. Now the radiator is already almost ready to go. See, I removed that. It's already almost ready to go. See that? It's coming out already. After you removed all the things attached to it and the lower hose, once you remove the lower hose, you can remove everything out. You can remove the radiator now. But you got to remember, though, when you're removing the radiator, make sure that you don't hurt this one right here for the air conditioned models, because that's for the air conditioner. You don't want to hurt it. And then it comes off, if your car is an automatic, you're gonna have these transmission lines that you need to remove. You need to remove these lines. Also, you need to disconnect the fans. It's only this one that you gotta disconnect. You gotta disconnect it. You push on this button here. You push and hold, and it'll come off like that. You only need to disconnect this one. That's all. And then now, for me, all I gotta do is remove the transmission lines, and I'm ready to go. And the radiator's off. Be prepared that when you remove these transmission lines, be sure, like, keep in mind, or just be prepared that some of them may spill out. So just be prepared. But this one is not going to do that, though, evidently. This one, I'm removing this too. You may have to fight it a little bit, but it's not too much, though. Well, I guess it's not going to spill out, only because the transmission lines are above the transmission. That's why. If it was going to be under the transmission, then it would spill. Now I disconnected everything. I just got to take the fans out and transfer it to the new radiator. So, that's how it looks. This took me probably like 15-20 minutes. That's all. I'm going to be needing to transfer some of these parts to the new one, including these. Remember these. Don't forget about these on the bottom, because these are the thingies that cushion the radiator. Don't forget those. Okay, now you can start removing all the 8 bolts that attach the fans. and then transfer it onto the new radiator. It should not give you any fight on coming off. So, and don't be alarmed if you find any differences on the old one and the new one. Like here, for an example, on the old one it looks like that, and then on the new one it looks like that. And just be sure that you remember to remove all these little thingies. Be sure you remember to remove those everywhere. Once you remove the 8 bolts, they come off no problem. Like that, nothing. And it's easy, it's very easy, really easy to transfer these parts onto the new one. Really easy. Just be sure that you remember to put all the parts that came with it in here, you know, like, because you're gonna need to tighten it. So, okay, I'm done with the fans. I put them on already. It was 8 bolts, and it gave me no fight whatsoever. Make sure that you tighten this, you know, the part that came with the new radiator. Just be sure it's tightened in there. With the 17, this is 17 millimeter. Now I'm ready to put the radiator on now again, but it's kind of like basically reverse on how we removed it. You just put the transmission lines in there really good. Make sure that they're in there all the way. Put the clamps on. This one too. Make sure that they're in all the way. Be sure that when you're putting in the radiator, that you got to be very careful not to hurt anything. Especially like these lines, this area right here where my fingernail's at. Make sure that you don't hit those, because it can create a hole, and then that'll be a problem. Just be very careful, because it is pretty fragile. So now I put the lines in now. Now I just got to put on the lower hose, and then make sure that you don't forget to connect the fans now. I could do that last. I just basically got to put in like connect the hose, and then put it on, and then put the top hose and put on the rest of the stuff. Okay, I just attached the clamp on the lower hose and everything. Well, this car, it doesn't give me a hard time with the radiator, because the lower hose is flexible here, and the transmission lines are flexible as well. On the other cars, they're not really flexible, meaning like they're not gonna let me put the radiator up here, these hoses. So on the other cars, you have to take off and put on the radiator hose with the radiator in the car, which is a little bit harder access, but that's how it's done on some other cars. So on the new radiator, just be sure you slide these into the space where it's supposed to go, and just be sure that you remember to tighten this before you put it on, and remember that you take off all the little coverings that came, so it's slid in. So it's slid in, no problem. Now I guess I could put some of these thingies, I don't know where they were, but well, most new radiators come with these new, so most radiators come with everything, you know, like these, and most of them do. But if they don't, that's when you got to transfer the old parts. Well, on this case, the radiator cap is the only thing that I see that it didn't come with, of course. Okay, I got everything in. Just put this one on. I put these two already on. I'm ready to screw it in. Now just put this last piece on and you're ready to go. Ready to put water in it, and that's it. Put these little screws in there. Now I'm ready to go. Just be sure that every bolt and everything is on good, and make sure that you put everything on. Now you could fill up the radiator with coolant. What I like to do is I like to fill up the radiator One point of advice though, you have to flush out the system first before you put the coolant in. You gotta flush it out with straight water first. Run it for a little bit, even drive it around for maybe 15 minutes with straight water, and then drain it out, and then you could put the coolant in it and water once it's cleared of all the rusty water, and that should do it. So these are all the tools that I ended up using to do this entire job, and that's all of the tools I used.